chose to go to Brazil. I applied for this master's degree in international management again here in São Paulo. I ended up starting an internship at Oliver Wyman here.
What inspired you about the company? I don't know if you had to choose also among other companies, like other consulting firms, bigger ones or smaller ones. I don't know. Tell me like how you decided also.
Fair enough. That's a typical interview question, right? Then again,
Sorry for that.
that's fair enough. My fondness for finance definitely made me appeal strongly towards Oliver Wyman, which is one of probably the strongest represented consulting companies within the financial services. Applied to like 5 consulting companies when I was in the race. The process is pretty similar. The different steps, you start off with the quantitative GMAT-like exam, after which you have a group case, right? So like competence center style, after which you pass and you have 4 to 6 interviews with principals, partners, and such business case. Like so the company here in São Paulo, at least, is not that huge. We are like 60 people in the office, so you still have this personal touch. So some competitors have offices of 200 people upward. Oliver Wyman in Latin America at least has 2 offices. One is in Mexico and one is here in Brazil, and consequently we have a lot of exposure to projects in neighboring countries. And as I speak Spanish, thereby I have the possibility to have exposure to projects also maybe nearby Chile, Argentina. We have a project running in Peru. So that's very appealing to also have this international exposure soon on.
So you learned Portuguese for working and also for the selection process?
80% of work is in Portuguese. English is hardly spoken, depends a lot on the client, but 80% of the work is in Portuguese. So consequently, the selection process is going to be in Portuguese as well. Almost all of my interviews I did in Portuguese, except from the one with the partner who spoke Portuguese from Portugal, which is very different to the Brazilian Portuguese, and I didn't understand. So that one I did in English. Thank God. Worked well, so he understood.
What does it mean to do your work? What does it mean being a consultant at Oliver Wyman?
My boss would say we tell stories. My other boss would say we make difficult things simple. The truth is we do every day something different. I don't feel like I have a specific routine of Mondays I do X, Tuesdays I do Y. Every week I start off with a new challenge, which sometimes I do not know what is going to come up because the client some sort of encounters a new problem and then asks me to solve it. And sometimes I end up not knowing how to do it and I learn it on the go, which is quite frightening sometimes, but it's challenging. It gives you the sort of adrenaline. Probably this is the reason you do the work for. Routine is we are at client site, always from 9 a.m. on, and we stay there until around 9 p.m. We set weekly targets, and day by day we just try to reach another milestone that has to be handed in the project, and we work towards that. I am on, for example, on a project of an investment banking merger. We are, for example, developing part of a business plan, creating Excel sheets of trying to forecast the revenue in different types of scenarios, especially now that we have the whole impact of the coronavirus. It could also be more soft, run project management, prepare the meetings, do follow-ups with clients of hand-ins, make reporting, try to forecast some bottlenecks in time.
Lifestyle you do, like working in Brazil, is it different from what you know when compared to Europe, for example? I don't know. Did you get any info about this, like about how is it in general to enter and then to work in such a company in South America?
At least here in São Paulo, I guess you're quite in a bubble in comparison to other places in Latin America. So it's very business driven. I do not see a large difference to Switzerland, very efficient work. Then again, from the culture, it is a bit different. You have more personal contact with clients than you have back home in Switzerland. You interact with them in a more intimate manner than I did back home. Maybe this is also because I did private banking back home and now do consulting, so it is different.
I wanted to ask you, like for the selection process, did you prepare in a specific way, like with some material you find online or I don't know, something particular, or just like with your logic and imagination?
To be very honest, it's a very good question. As you have these two major hurdles to get into consulting. One is the logic exam, and the other ones are the business cases. I had two separate resource material that I actually used. One for the GMAT was official GMAT guidebooks, together with a web page called Manhattan Analytics, where you can online actually like enter all the answers that you have in some sort of trace. And then for the consulting processes itself, I had resources from Bain, from McKinsey, also the universities, from Assad, I had from Cornell, etc. Huge amount of resource material. Then again, the last one that I started using was a webpage called Crafting Cases. Two Brazilian guys started up a lot of online tutorials, have their own page, and it's almost all for free. It's amazing material. So for whoever starts out preparing for business cases, watch those two guys. They're amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Luis, last thing that I want to ask you. Sorry, because I always do like this, like last question, then it's not the last one, but really this is the last one. Just to make things clear, also for me, how does it work when applying at a company like this? Like, do you already know like the type of consulting you're gonna do? Or how does it work? Like, how do you define your type of consulting? Like a strategic one, financial one? How does it work?
We start off as general consultants, and only from associate level on, we start to focus on a specific industry. At other companies, you have a pretty determined starting path already. So you could say you start off at supply chain consulting, and then you might be in several different industries, but you only do supply chain consulting. What I know, the big three, Kearney, us, Roland Berman maybe too, they all start off as generalists, and then they start specifying on, if I'm not wrong, on industry, but you can also do a specification on the practice that you do. So we call it the so-called the horizontal and the vertical specialization. Mostly you start off pretty vastly in the beginning, but have this sort of a constraint of what kind of a client portfolio your company has in a specific country.
Okay. That's awesome, Luis. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very welcome.